please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, first of all, welcome everybody to the new remodeled chambers. I think we're the first meeting to be held in here, and so bear with us if. And I see a lot of staff here seeing how we do. So just because something goes wrong doesn't mean it's technology. It could be user error. So if y'all will bear with us tonight, we're all getting used to the new technology, and so we may have a few fumbles. So with that said, I'll move us to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda. The consent agenda will be acted upon in one motion and contains items that are routine and typically non-controversial. Items may be removed from this agenda for individual consideration by commissioners or staff.
Does any commissioner wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Commissioner Langenfelter?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as recommended by staff.
Commissioner Bronski?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Langenfelter, seconded by Commissioner Bronski to approve the consent agenda as presented. Everybody please vote. That vote passes 8-0. And I know we had some registered speakers here that if in case we needed you, it didn't look like we needed you. So thank y'all for joining us tonight. All right, item 1A.
Items for individual consideration. Public hearing items. Unless instructed otherwise by the chair, speakers will be called in the order registrations are received. Applicants are limited to a total of 15 minutes of presentation time with a 5-minute rebuttal if needed. Remaining speakers are limited to 30 total minutes of testimony time with 3 minutes assigned per speaker. The presiding officer may modify these times as deemed necessary. Administrative consideration items must be approved if they meet city development regulations. Legislative consideration items are more discretionary, except as constrained by legal considerations. Agenda item number 1A is a preliminary replat for Plano West Senior High School, Block A, Lot 1R. This is a public school on one lot on 42.8 acres located at the northwest corner of Parker Road and Willow Bend Drive. The property is currently zoned agricultural, in single-family residence 9. Applicant is Plano Independent School District. This item is for administrative consideration. Agenda item number 1B is for preliminary replat and revised site plan for Plano West Senior High School, Block A, Lot 2R. This is a public school on one lot on 58.1 acres located at the southwest corner of Willow Bend Drive and Erie Road. The property is currently zoned agricultural and single-family residence 9. Applicant is Plano Independent School District. This item is for administrative consideration.
Hello? Oh, there it goes. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is John Kim, planner with the Planning Department. On the screen here is the Lot 1R of the Plano West High School, and this one is the preliminary replat only. And then here is the proposed plan, or plat. And here is Lot 2R, which is just north of Lot 1R. And here's the plat. And then here is the revised site plan. So staff recommends approval for item 1A, preliminary replat, and item 1B, the preliminary replat, subject to additions and or alterations to the engineering plans as required by the engineering department. And for the revised site plan on item 1B, it is recommended for approval, subject to Plano fire rescue approval of a variance to the 150-foot hose lay requirement. I'm available for any questions.
Commissioner, do you all have any questions for staff on this item? Item 1A or 1B? Commissioner O'Lally.
So I wanted to know, what's the, like the blank area in between the lots 1R and 2R?
So,
Like on page 38 on our package?
so like
The one
Along the
before
north
that.
side of here?
No, the one before this one. Yeah, see, like there's a white area in between the. So there's a hatched area and there's like a white.
The line you see on page 38 is the 200-foot notice boundary. So when we send this is a residential replat, we have to send notice to all other
Oh, so that's
lots
the
within the
one.
subdivision within 200 feet. They receive a notice.
Oh, okay. And my other question, like
Thank you.
on where the tennis courts are gonna be,
Mm-hmm.
it says, like it was parking and it's, like 2 lots 1R, right?
Yes.
So what's gonna happen to this parking?
So there was a parking performance agreement with the site plan that was approved in 2012, I believe. And so there was a agreement to allow deferred parking. I believe it was 500, somewhere in the middle, 500 spaces. And that was allowed to defer if that was ever needed in the future. And then with the revised plans, there was a reduction to the parking needed for Lot 1R. And so the 20% reduction was granted, as well as a variance from the Board of Adjustments.
Mhm.
And so that parking easement is now gone through this
So it's not,
preliminary
the whole
replat.
thing is not needed anymore?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for staff? Oh. Commissioner Lawley, did you have another question? Oh, okay. Okay. Commissioner Brunoff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has Plano Fire Rescue approved the variance to the 150-foot hose lay requirement?
Yes, they have told me that they intend to approve it.
Oh, they intend to approve it?
Yep.
They haven't formally done it yet?
Well, they have sent me a letter. I guess I don't know exactly how they formally approve it, but
Well,
they have told me that it is
do we
approved.
still need to add the condition to a motion approving this? If they've, well,
Yes, we would
if
recommend
they've
for
already
clarity.
approved it, then there's no need for a condition based on their future approval. That's all I'm saying.
I think at this point, we don't know for sure that we have their approval, and we would recommend that the condition stay at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Kim.
All right,
I'll
thank
open the
you.
public hearing. Do we have an applicant here tonight that would like to address the commission? If not, do we have any registered speakers?
We do not.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Reserve the comments to the commission. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Ollie.
I move we approve agenda item number 1A and 1B, preliminary replat subject to additions and alterations to the engineering plans as required by engineering department.
We need separate.
Commissioner, we'll need separate motions, so if you wouldn't
Gotcha.
mind.
I move we approve agenda item number 1A subject to additions or alterations recommended by the engineering department.
Apparently you guys hit your button at the same time, so I'm going to go with Mr. Brunoff.
Okay. Second.
All right. Commissioner Lingenfelter or Bender, do y'all have comments you'd like to make before the vote? No? No? Okay. If everybody would cast their vote, please. Motion passes 8-0. Item 1B.
I move we approve agenda item number 1B, subject to approval by Plano Fire and Rescue of the variance to the 150-foot hose lay requirement.
Commissioner Brunoff.
Would the motion include also subject to additions and alterations to the engineering plans?
And also subject to alterations
Okay.
as recommended by the engineering department.
Second the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the commission? Seeing none, everybody cast their vote. Motion passes 8-0. Item number 2.
Agenda item number 2 is a request to amend Plan Development 71 Regional Commercial to modify development standards in the adopted open space plan on 89.1 acres located on the west side of the Dallas North Tollway, 305 feet north of Park Boulevard. The property is zoned Plan Development 71, Regional Commercial with specific use permit number 570 for automobile leasing, renting, and is located within the Dallas North Tollway Overlay District. Petitioners are Centennial Waterfall Willow Bend LLC, the Neiman Marcus Group LLC, Macy's Retail Holdings LLC, and Dillard's Inc. This item was tabled on November 4, 2024.
Thank you. Commission, my name is Molly Coriel, Senior Planner with the Planning Department. And I apologize, my screen is showing a different, I think that's supposed to be normal. Thank you. The applicant is requesting to table this item to the January 6th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Staff did meet with the applicants the week before Thanksgiving to go over the proposed concept plan revisions, and they are looking into a design that would include more townhomes than previously proposed. Tabling this item allows them more time to rework this concept plan and work with staff in order to prepare the item for the proposed Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and thank you very much.
Commissioners, questions for staff? Nobody? Okay, thank you very much. I'll open the public hearing. Do we have an applicant here that would like to speak? Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Bronski.
Mr. Dahlstrom, I appreciate you being here. I have a concern that make sure that we're making wise use of your time as well as the staff, and with all of the holidays and things, and this having been tabled once now, I wonder if you guys might feel a little more comfortable having it tabled to the January 21st Planning and Zoning meeting to be sure that everything can be done and we don't have to do this a third time.
I definitely don't want to do it a third time. I appreciate the
Bill,
concern.
Mr. Dahlstrom, I can interrupt you. Just introduce
Yes,
yourself for
sir.
the record, please.
I'm sorry. Bill Dahlstrom, 2323 Ross Avenue,
Thank you.
representing the applicant. As Ms. Coriel said, we did meet with the city staff a couple weeks ago. We've already made significant changes to the concept plan, to the site plan, and there aren't many changes to the PD stipulations. So we feel as if we're in a position now where we can get it in and move forward with the process. And the developer is under the gun to get things done quickly. So if we could keep the January 6th agenda, we would prefer that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm not opposed to keeping it on that day. I just want to make sure that we're not being unrealistic and end up in a position where you guys discover you want to make some more changes and we have to keep pushing it out.
I don't think they're going to make any more changes from what we've seen, but I do appreciate it. I feel comfortable that we are
All right,
ready
great.
to
I
go
look
forward.
forward to seeing it then. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commission, any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, do we have any other speakers registered for this item?
We do not.
We'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Lingenfelter.
I move that we grant the applicant to be able to table this item to the January 6th meeting.
All right. Commissioner Bronski.
I second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Lingenfelter, seconded by Commissioner Bronski to table the item to the January 6th, 2025 agenda. If everybody would please vote. We're getting there. There we go. Everybody would please vote. All right. Oop. That passed 8-0, but then our screens went blank.
I apologize, Commissioners. We need a minute.
we go. That's where we left off. All right, are we back? Okay.
We get it?
Commissioners, we good?
She's not showing the right screen.
Oh, you don't have the right screen? Okay.
I can see it. I'm glad this is happening now instead of later. And hers is not even on though. Bam. Is that what she did?
They're rebooting her screen.
Do we need to recess for a minute and let y'all work on this, or do we think we can get there?
Said one more minute.
Okay, one more minute, and then we'll take a recess if we need to.
Okay.
All right, we good? We back?
Yes, sir.
All right. Item number 3.
All right, items for individual consideration, non-public hearing items. The presiding officer will permit limited public comment for items on the agenda not posted for public hearing. The presiding officer will establish time limits based upon the number of speaker requests, length of the agenda, and to ensure meeting efficiency, and may include a total time limit. Agenda item number 3, conveyance plat. Encore Cloud Station, Block A, Lot 1 for one conveyance lot on 18.6 acres located on the east side of Jupiter Road, 215 feet north of State Highway 190. The property is zoned Light Industrial 1 and Research Technology Center and located within the State Highway 190 Plano Parkway Overlay District. This item is for legislative consideration.
Thank you. This is a conveyance plat for the existing Encore electrical transmission lines and is the same subject property for the specific use permit and preliminary site plan that the commission made a decision to approve on the November 18th P&Z meeting. The subdivision, and then here's the graphic for the plan. The subdivision ordinance does require that all non-residential lots have a minimum of 2 points of access to a public street. This proposed lot will actually have a single point of access from a shared access easement with the property directly south. You can see on this slide, I put a red circle around the access easement where the proposed entry will be. The commission may approve the lot only having 1 point of access based on the criteria shown here. And based on the staff analysis provided to the commission in the packet, 2 points of access cannot be obtained based on the existing conditions surrounding the site and the minimum distance between driveways required as dictated by the street design standards. Therefore, staff is recommending approval subject to approval of the subdivision ordinance variance, as well as approval of the related zoning case, which is scheduled to go on City Council on this December 9th. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Commission, any questions for staff? Seeing none? Oh, I spoke too soon. Mr. Ollie.
Two questions, one for my memory and for public education. Can you enlighten us as to why we require 2 access points for non-residential lots?
That's a great question. I'll let Michael Bell answer that.
Yes, so the purpose is for public safety, so that there are 2 points for emergency access, essentially. One of those is required to be directly from the street. The second can be via a shared access easement from another property.
Gotcha. Which leads to the second question. If my memory serves me right, when we approved the SUP, the applicant walked us through the fire suppression, self-contained fire suppression within the site. I presume engineering and Plano Fire got the same information.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lally?
Like, we know that they're gonna have a shared access from the lot, like to the south. Do we know that this is, is there like something in writing? Or do they own this property?
The access easement is already recorded, so I just pulled up the graphic around the red circle. The volume and page number is a recorded document that does show that the access easement is existing. And in order to have that access easement removed, that would have to be done by plat. And the city would not allow that access easement to be removed because it would eliminate the only point of access for this lot. So,
Yeah, thank you.
of course.
Mr. Brunoff? Oh, sorry. Hang on. Oh, there you go.
Yes, if there's no further discussion, I'm prepared to make a motion.
I need to see if we have any speakers. Do you
Yes,
have any
that's-
just
of course.
hold 1 second. Do we have any speakers on this item?
We do not.
Okay. Commissioner Bruno.
I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 3 with specific findings that a second point of access cannot be obtained and that traffic safety and fire protection are sufficient at the site.
Does that include?
Oh, hang on. Commissioner Bronski.
So does that include the recommendations by staff as enumerated on page 50
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
So then I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Brunoff, second by Commissioner Bronski. Do we have any other discussion by the commission? Seeing none, everybody please vote. Motion passes 8-0. Item number 4.
Item number 4, preliminary site plan, Jupiter Mobile Addition, Block A, Lot 1, for a convenience store with fueling station on one lot on 0.5 acre located at the southeast corner of 14th Street and Jupiter Road. The property is zoned retail. The applicant is Texas Prudent Investment, Inc. This item is for legislative consideration.
Thank you. This is a request for a preliminary site plan for the redevelopment of an existing fuel station and tire repair shop. It's located on the southeast corner of Jupiter Road and 14th Street. And the proposed preliminary site plan shows a redevelopment that would be a new retail building that will replace the existing tire repair building, as you can see where it's located, as well as other related site improvements such as the new fuel canopy and parking, things like that. The applicant is also requesting a 20% parking reduction as part of this proposed redevelopment. And the red dots on this graphic represent each proposed parking space, none of which are located under the fuel canopy, I wanted to point out. While vehicles may park under the canopy to purchase fuel, these spaces are not counted. And P&Z may grant up to a 20% parking reduction. And parking reductions can be considered based on the following criteria. Staff analysis was provided to the commission in the staff report. However, in summation, the proposed project meets all of the criteria listed and no parking issues are anticipated by granting a 20% parking reduction. Therefore, staff is recommending approval for this preliminary site plan with a 20% parking reduction as requested. And thank you, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commission, we have any questions for staff?
A question about the setbacks, you know, like the 30, there's 30 and 50, or 39 and 50 setbacks, so why was?
So there is a recorded 20-foot building line setback already on the site. That's already existing on site, which is why it's being shown. However, by our zoning, we have a 39-foot setback for fuel canopies.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the setback being shown. The 50-foot setback is the building setback. So it's showing that the retail building is within the 50-foot setback. The fuel canopy is within the 39-foot setback. And then there's an existing 20-foot building line on the site, which is what is being shown.
So you're like, so the dumpsters are within the 20-foot, or they should they be, you know, like on the 39 or the 50? The reason why I'm asking is because you're like now it's shown that the dumpster is not within the building line, and usually you request that the dumpsters also comply with the setbacks, right?
That's correct. In this case, the ordinance actually has a provision that if there is an established building line, that the building line can control. So in this case, the 39-foot is sufficient.
Yeah, but you're like, but it is also in, you know, like, it is beyond the 39, right?
There's a 20-foot building line recorded.
So is it like the
Oh,
20?
The 20-foot building line is what controls. Correct.
Okay.
Thank
so
you.
the reason
My
I'm
apologies.
asking, because you're like, if it's not within the required setback, so it should be pushed, so the building is going to be smaller and the parking requirement would be less. But, you know, like, as long as it's within the recorded
Yes.
setback. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Commissioner Ollie?
I see only one accessible parking space out of the 13. I actually count 12 spaces. I can't find the 13th, but that's neither here nor there. Do we have a ratio requirement for accessible parking spaces?
We do, and I don't have the exact number, but we do have like a range from to this many parking spaces. This is how many ADA spaces are required, going up to like 400 parking spaces. However, based on the amount of parking spaces proposed, 1 ADA space is required.
Okay.
That's in our ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, any other questions? I have one. Is it an ordinance that we don't count the spaces by the gas pumps?
It doesn't explicitly say in our ordinance that we don't count in the gas pumps, but our ordinance does have provisions for driveway aisle distances, dimensions, and everything like that. And since you don't typically stripe a parking space under a fuel canopy, typically, I guess, because it's not explicitly mentioned from my recollection.
That's correct. If there's a vehicle fueling station by a vehicle pumps without the convenience store, then they can count towards those spaces. If it's just a convenience store, which is treated like retail, then the pumps do not count.
Thank you.
That's
Okay.
been, it's not explicitly written that way, but that's been how it's been applied across the city.
Having had a recent Thanksgiving weekend experience at a Buc-ee's, I know a lot of their parking is next to fuel pumps, so, and they stay way too long. So just something I was curious about. All right, Commissioner Brunoff.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you just touched on what I wanted to ask. It seems to me what we don't want is people parking next to the gas pump and then going inside the building to do retail shopping and depriving people of access to the gas pumps. So with the 20% reduction, do you have enough parking spaces remaining of the 13 to where there should not be a problem with people just sort of camping out at the gas pump?
That is correct.
Yeah.
I will say, who among us is not guilty of parking at a gas station to pay the cashier $20 and then also buying a pack of Twizzlers or something, you know, for your gas? But anyways, yes. But the purpose is that you don't count them because they're not really parking spaces, but people might park there, go inside, pay for gas, and then come back to their car to fuel their vehicle. But
I don't mind that. I just mind somebody stopping at the gas pump, going inside, and not buying gas, but parking.
That would
there
be
in order to
upsetting.
close it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be upsetting. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bronski?
I have to be the first one to admit that I have done that, usually at a gas station that's not very busy. But so my question is, you're requesting a reduction to 13, but when I count the dots, we're at 14.
The request is 20%, which would be 13
12.8.
spaces, 12.8,
So-
13 spaces. However, they are showing 14 spaces on site. I believe that this flexibility could offer some revisions in the site plan stage. I think it's about 8.5% per parking space that the reduction is. So
Well, my thought was, I noticed that there was only one handicapped accessible parking, and I was curious how that was counted, because it seemed to me that we might like to have more than just one place for a handicapped accessible parking there.
a handicap spot is counted as a parking spot. They are, yeah. go
That's
on.
correct, and I just want to clarify on the table that you mentioned earlier, there's one space required for there's one handicap accessible space required for the first 25 parking spaces.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've seen extra handicap spots, especially in gas stations, and I wanted to clarify the 14 that I was looking at as opposed to the 13 we were being asked to grant.
Yes, I do apologize for the confusion, but I will clear up that there are 14 spaces on site. ADA spaces do count as a parking space. You don't have to add extra ADA spaces on top of the required parking. So it's 14 spaces total. However, 20% would be 13 spaces.
Now, I understand what you're talking about, the flexibility. I just wanted to make sure
course.
it's clear in my own head. Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate that.
Other questions, Commission? Nobody's registered to speak. Oh, sorry, didn't see you. Commissioner Lingenfelter.
So I think you're fine with the parking, but I would just, it does seem to be an issue. Is there a reason why they went with parallel parking on that west side instead of head-in parking? Because they could probably get about 3 extra spots if they turn that.
That is a great question, Commissioner Lingenfelter. Thank you. So an original or a previous iteration of this actually did have 3 head-in parking. However, we do have corner lot landscaping requirements along Type D thoroughfare intersections, which require about 900 square feet minimum of landscaping at the corner. So the recomposition of that parking spaces allowed that 900 square feet additional, I think about 1,100 actually, but that was for the purpose of having corner lot landscaping at Jupiter and 14th.
Anybody else? Commissioner Bender.
Not a question for staff, but a comment. And I just pointing out, we were accommodating an existing site here, right? So there are limitations that we're accommodating with this existing business.
This is a redeveloped site,
Right.
so
Right.
yes, it's the proposed it's a proposed redevelopment. Yes.
I would note that along those lines, it was originally developed as a convenience store under older regulations, so this lot does not meet the typical lot size requirements under the current ordinance. As well, it did not require corner lot landscaping at the time of original approval, so they are working with some limited space given when they were originally developed.
Okay, anybody else? Do we have any registered speakers on this item?
There are none.
All right. Commission? Commissioner Bronski?
I move that we approve the reduction of 20% as requested and recommended by staff.
Commissioner O'Lally, you got your microphone on, yeah?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Bronski, seconded by Commissioner O'Lally. Everybody please vote. Motion passes 8-0. Item number 4.
Item number 5.
Did I miss
Agenda
one?
item number
Oh, 5, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is a presentation and discussion of the zoning and subdivision ordinance rewrite diagnostic report and an update on project progress.
All right, good evening, Commission. My name is Jordan Rockerby, Senior Planner in the Planning Department. The diagnostic report is in your packet, and you will be receiving a presentation from our consultant tonight. So Daniel Harrison and Dan Stefko will be providing that for you.
Welcome, sir. If you just,
Good evening. My name is Dan Sefco with Freeze and Nichols, and with me tonight is Daniel Harrison, Project Manager. Here we go.
if I could ask you to stay close to the microphone, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We're representing Freeze and Nichols as contracted by City of Plano on the rewrite of all of the planning and zoning and subdivision regulations. And so it's a large job, and we're very appreciative that the city has entrusted us to assist you all in doing this. So with me tonight, as I mentioned, is Daniel Harrison. He is the project manager, and he's going to make a presentation here in a few moments. We have started. We've been working with the rewrite committee. The main item that we're asking the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider tonight is acceptance of the report. So if you deem it appropriate, we would like you to accept the report, and then if you choose to do so, we will then go on and ask the same to the City Council. So the agenda tonight is 5 items you can see here on your screen, but basically we're going to summarize where we are, go through the process, talk about a few key points of how the comprehensive plan is driving our input, how we've worked with the various participants in the process, our outreach program, some of the major topics that we're addressing, and then, of course, leave time for questions and answers from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Daniel?
Thank you. So as you sort of see on the screen here, we're going through some different phases in the report and the life of the project. So the first part is we're looking at the diagnostic report. So what we're doing is taking a look at the current codes and asking people who use the zoning and the subdivision ordinance, their experiences, the feedback they have. We go through an analysis of both codes. We work with staff to develop the diagnostic report. And so now that we have the diagnostic report and are showing it to you and also to the council, we'll move into phase 2 of the project. That's the actual rewriting of the different sections of the code. And then the final phase of the report will be the adoption process. So if we really wanted to look at a project summary, if someone was asking you, what is the code update really about? The code's really going to position the city for the future by implementing the comprehensive plan. That was a very important part of going through this process of looking at the comprehensive plan, and that vision has been spelled out, and the city went through a big effort to update that plan. And so we already have a lot of the recommendations and the vision set out in that document. And then the second part really is modernizing and streamlining the regulations for the process governed by the code. We know infill and redevelopment is really what we're looking at. The comprehensive plan sort of guided us and sort of explained, yes, we're looking at redevelopment. And so that is how, if we're trying to summarize what's going on in the update, that's really the summary. So some overarching themes. We wanted a community outreach and stakeholder-driven process. We had 20 different sessions with stakeholders. Over 70 people participated in that. We're also having a project website, updates on the city website, as well as discussion, council updates, P&Z updates, office hours that we can offer the public to come and sit down and here, I have a question about how this may affect my property. Could you explain that? That's an opportunity that we have to do that. Of course, we'll have public hearings as you know, most zoning and subdivision, we will have those public hearings. Citywide mailing notices, that's part of the process too. Posting in the Dallas Morning News. So different opportunities for outreach. Other themes, project objectives, we want to incentivize economic development, help meet housing needs as outlined in the comprehensive plan, simplifying redevelopment. Of course, when we're taking a look at this, cities don't too often take a whole look at how all the zoning and subdivision regulations coordinate together. That's an opportunity that we have to streamline, really make a user-friendly document, implement some industry standards that we think will help benefit the city and the residents and the businesses, and implement the land use priorities. And once again, that big item at the bottom was align with the comprehensive plan. And in the document, we show the comprehensive plan has policies and action items, and we really wanted to connect our recommendations in the document to the comprehensive plan. So here's just an example that you can see on the screen where we have a recommendations talking about backyard cottages. And let's take a look. What did the comprehensive plan say about that? So you can see the different policies that we have in the comprehensive plan, and we have a table here so everyone can see that. So looking at some of the high priority topics that we have, this is the general ones. Once again, tailoring for infill and redevelopment. We talked about number 2, consolidating the zoning and subdivision into a unified development code so they'll be living in one document. Optimizing the development process and the path to success. We talked about some alternative compliance, some flexibility to address some of our infill and redevelopment needs, and utilizing graphics and improving the readability of the document. Looking at just zoning, reassessing the current zoning districts, we have some overlaps. We have some direction from the comprehensive plan to look at mixed use. So there are some things that we can do within our zoning districts, whether we're talking about consolidating or possibly expanding. Talked about parking at the last item. Same here, parking's a big issue, so that's one thing that we're looking forward to addressing. Effectively managing housing regulations within the code. Once again, looking at the comprehensive plan for that guidance. Calibrating the plan development zonings to promote good land use outcomes, and then prioritizing context-sensitive outcomes. And that's looking at different parts of the city, because as we have different parts of the city that are unique, we're not trying to have one blanket solution for things. We're trying to look at our different areas to provide the appropriate solutions. And then lastly, on the subdivision regulations, increasing the flexibility of the subdivision standards to support redevelopment. There's some distinguishing of some private street types that were going to be helpful. Clarifying the need and the role of the various plat types, from conveyance plats to development plats, and improving requirements for certain types of security, how to make sure that we're having construction improvement or whether it's maintenance improvement related to our platting. So once again, really focusing on implementing the plan and looking forward to how do we streamline and modernize the code. After today, what we'll do is we'll present to the council to let them see the same presentation, and then once again really start working on our module developments, that phase 2 of the code update. And so with that, we'll I guess I'll turn it back over to Jordan, and if there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer those.
Commission, I'm going to lead off, if you don't mind. I've had the opportunity to chair this group, and Commissioner Bronski as the vice chair of that group as well. And so we've sat through all these meetings, and I think the best way I know how to explain what we're actually looking at tonight is a detailed scope of the work we're going to do. We don't have any of the answers at this point. Well, we have some, maybe have some, but the purpose of this document is to identify all the questions. And so we had a great committee of a lot of people that really know the details and ins and outs of how the zoning ordinance has worked, both on the private sector, the public sector, and a great cross-section. Really have a strong committee, and everybody participates and does their homework and comes prepared to the meetings. And I feel like we've had some really great sessions so far. So we got down to, I think, punctuation on this document at our last meeting. We did have one sentence that was left pending to be wordsmithed after our last meeting. And so do you have that handy? Can you throw that up on the screen, or is that something you can read out loud just so that Commissioner Bronski and I given that we were, well, I guess you missed the meeting where we wordsmithed that, so
Yes.
just see how that turned out before we move forward.
Yes, the last page, or page 15 of your document in the diagnostic report, it's item 413. We're talking about establishing infill and redevelopment standards. And through that discussion, the last sentence we added, finally, the new code should establish procedures to evaluate infill projects and to incorporate standards to better accommodate infill development and redevelopment. Yep, that last sentence right there.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
That was our infill and redevelopment sentence that y'all were wordsmithing for us.
That's correct.
Perfect. All right. I think that was the last item that wasn't completely resolved in our last committee meeting, so.
Correct. Yep.
All right, so with all that said, I'll open it up to the commission. Commissioner Bronski.
Yeah, so I just wanted to acknowledge everything that our chair just said. I'm really happy that we chose Freese and Nichols to come back and work with us. I feel like them living through the process of the development of our comprehensive plan, to me, this really is bringing all of the hard work that Council, P&Z, the Comprehensive Plan Commission, and all of the outreach and efforts that Freese and Nichols did in developing the new comprehensive plan, bringing it to final implementation, the final piece of the puzzle that we started working on back in, I think, 2020. I'm very proud of the effort and certainly the number of individuals that we got involved on the committee, as well as choosing you guys to work with us. And finally, I'll just say the intentional outreach that we made in collecting all of this, you guys stayed right on point with being purposefully desirous of hearing what all of the community has to say, so that the guidelines that we provide in the comprehensive plan can be flushed out now completely into the Unified Development Code. So that's my thought.
Thank you. Commissioner Raleigh?
Echo everything Mike said. I like examples of the city not resting on its accolades and always trying to strive for just a little better and just a little better. This might come, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, looking for a little bit of a preview, but you have some large goals in terms of drafting the code language around appropriate housing mix that reflects the community's preferences, conserving open space. If you could tease as to how what kind of framework you would bring to play to start ironing some of that language out. My first thought was community's preferences. Community in that sentence could mean 10,000 different things, right? How would you bring the appropriate voices to bear as you tease out this language?
Great question, because what we do is we take a look at the comprehensive plan and sort of where we were moving from that and getting the input. And as we sort of outlined it in the plan and we discussed amongst our rewrite advisory committee, is Plano's done a fabulous job at greenfield development over the decades. And obviously, as a result, we have an amazing community. But continuing to be a city of excellence, we look at how are we going to move forward into the redevelopment stage, because all our greenfield development is basically gone. And so how are we going to master and be as good at redevelopment as we were at the original greenfield development? So that's sort of the attitude we have when we're taking a look at, when we think about redevelopment, how are we going to be sure that we're positioning the city the best way it can and really reflecting the values that people told us in the comprehensive plan process.
Makes sense, and I would love to, and I may have missed it in the packet, just to get a sense of your outreach tools, how you're getting that voice of the community, maybe the next iteration of this presentation, we'll get a chance to see that.
Commissioner Brunoff. I'll call on you again. No, I'll turn your microphone on.
Okay, thank I'm used to pushing the button to turn the mic on, and I turned it off instead. I want to start by thanking the members of the committee and Freeze and Nickel and the city staff for the work they've done so far on this challenging task. And I appreciate the seriousness and the diligence that you've displayed in getting this far with it. I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that before you can have answers, it's necessary to first identify the questions, and I think you've done that. You've done an excellent job of that. I would just offer the comment that in devising answers, which is the next stage, I understand, what you're going to be doing, that you try to arrive at a reasonable balance between standards, which are necessary, and some degree of flexibility, so that we can adapt, action by the city to whatever individual circumstances may present themselves with each case that comes before the city. But recognizing that standards are also necessary, and we have to have those as well. So I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I'm just saying I think that's an issue that you should address.
I will tease a little bit of that.
Yeah.
We are having a lot of discussions about the boundaries between staff flexibility, P&Z flexibility, and ordinance flexibility. And those are ongoing discussions, I guess is probably the best way to put that I feel certain are nowhere near being resolved yet. So, but they are on the table to hopefully be addressed and find that balance. So that is something we're working towards. Commissioner Bender.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to echo some of the similar comments. Great job by Freeze and Nichols and the city staff. And reading through this whole document, it kind of leads me to some of the same comments that have been made here this evening. And it's about thoughtful redevelopment, right? Because the environment we're in, when we do the redevelopment, it's thoughtful redevelopment. So I think the things that you've laid out and the questions that you've raised are the right ones. So job well done. Thank you.
Commissioner Lally.
I also wanted to, this effort is much appreciated,
Commissioner,
and I think it's, I'm sorry.
If you can lean into your microphone just a little bit.
Oh, more?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, your effort is much appreciated, and I guess, we needed this change because, we're getting a lot of rezoning and PD cases here, so I think, that indicates that the current zoning needs to be revisited and somehow. So, yeah, appreciate the effort, and I think it's about time to do that.
Thank you. Commissioners, any other questions? If there aren't any, I'm going to, privilege of the chair, I'm going to make the motion and move that we accept the diagnostic report as presented and charge the rewrite committee with moving forward with next steps. Commissioner Bronski.
As the vice chair of both, I will second your motion.
All right. Comments, questions from the commission? All right. Everybody please vote. Passes 8-0. Thank you all very much for everything we're already doing and the work we've got ahead of us.
Thank you. We will surely see you all again.
Yes, sir.
Comments of public interest. This portion of the meeting is to allow up to 3 minutes per speaker with 30 total minutes on items of interest or concern and not on items that are on the current agenda. The Planning and Zoning Commission may not discuss these items but may respond with factual or policy information. The Planning and Zoning Commission may choose to place an item on a future agenda. The presiding officer may modify these times as deemed necessary. And Chair, we do not have any registered speakers for this item.
Okay, thank you. I do want to acknowledge we've got a lot of staff and folks in the audience today that I think are here, and I want to thank all of y'all. I know all of y'all have had a role at some level. So in the remodel of this chamber, and I know you're here to troubleshoot, but we do want to acknowledge the effort that all of y'all put in getting us here, and the time we spent over at the library made us desperate to get back, and we know y'all are working hard to get us here, and I just wanted to acknowledge y'all being here while you're here so we could do that publicly. So thank y'all for everything you've done to get us here. With that, Commission, any other business before the Commission tonight? All right, we will stand adjourned at 6:55.
So you approve the name change in December of 2021.
Welcome to another episode of Labor of Love. Next up, we've got police digital media forensic specialist. Let's go. Today we're doing a ride-along with Plano Police Digital Media Forensic Supervisor Brandon Saylor. He's been with the department 19 years. Before forensics, he was a crime analysis intelligence analyst.
The job I did before was completely behind the desk.